Hi, so you've clicked on the link from Red Hot Porn and here we are. This game is between Ekyrun, graded 1507, and Katella, who's graded 1214. It starts off with a standard, it's a Philidor's opening. Black defends the E5 pawns with D6. White plays a developing move, bishop C4, and black played knight F6. Now I'm putting this down already as a bad move because white can play knight G5 in this position, hitting the F7 pawn. Black really has to give up a pawn here to stop himself getting torn to pieces in the opening, or his king misplaced. So bishop E6, bishop takes bishop, pawn takes bishop, knight takes E6, hitting the queen, and the queen comes to E7. Now I reckon that white should just play something like knight takes F8, rook takes F8, and knight C3 here, holding the pawn. And he's got a nice comfortable position. If I had to take that position as black, I wouldn't be too upset. It's just a pawn down, and you're going to have no developing problems, and the white player would have to come and get me. But I think that move would have been, I think that's okay for white. White should have just played that. But after queen E7, white played knight G5. Black, of course, hit the knight with H6, the knight went back to F3, and black took the e-pawn, and I think that the black has now got away with his slack third move of knight F6. White played D3, hitting the knight, and I can't see why black just doesn't go back to knight F6 here. He's okay. Instead he played the move knight G5, which is where all these troubles stem from, because after knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, queen G4, that pawn on G5 is going, and it's not just a pawn, it's a hit in the queen. It's going to cause black all sorts of problems. Black actually played rook H4 here, which is tempting, but it's not a very, very good move. White should have just played queen C8 here, check, and then if the king goes to F7, then white has queen takes B7, so queen back to D8 to answer queen takes B7 with knight D7, but white just simply trades the queen because he's picking up the exchange with bishop takes G5 check, bishop E7, bishop takes, and that's a straightforward game for white. It is the exchange up and pawns, so he shouldn't have too much trouble in that game actually converting that into a win. But after rook H4, white actually played a sneaky move, queen G3. In fact, it's sneaky. I would say it's possibly better than queen C8. Go back and scrub that. Let's go with this line. I like this line. Queen C8. Sorry, queen G3. And he's got a nasty threat of bishop takes G5, forking the queen and rook, which black misses. So white carried out his threat. Bishop takes G5, queen F7, and bishop takes rook. So white's actually a whole rook up. So it's better than the queen C8 line, although black didn't have to fall for this. So black's a rook down, so he comes up with knight to D5 to try and win his rook back. So when a queen's out early on, the squares C7 and C2 are often unprotected, and black's trying to take advantage of this. White defends the C2 pawn with knight A3. Now black in this position played queen E6, but back here he actually does have a move, queen H5, and of course he's threatening mate with queen E2 mate. Now if white plays something like queen E3 to stop the mate, then the bishop on H4 is going, and if white is just clumsy enough to castle, then knight E2 check wins the queen. So the only logical move to actually stop it would be something like F3, but then the idea behind queen H5 comes in, because black has knight F5, and although he was a rook down a couple of moves ago, he's winning a piece back, so it's just the exchange down. But alas, black did not play queen H5, he played the queen E6. Obviously he wants to get the bishop out and gets castled. White kicked the knight with C3. Black, I don't know what he was thinking of, just played knight C2 here. Maybe he missed the knight on A3, I don't know. But suddenly now black is a rook and the knight down. Unperturbed, he plays bishop E7, going to castle, and white is only too happy to exchange pieces. Bishop takes E7, queen takes E7, and now white plays a nice little move. queen h3. That stops black from castling queenside and has a nasty little threat of queen h8. It's either going to win the a8 rook or force the queens off. And black in this position played e4, totally ignoring the threat. White played queen h8 check. Black gave him the rook. It's pointless chopping the queens off in that position. It was a very easy win for white. White took the rook, and black has his one check. And in this position, white should just simply have played knight e3 check. That would be the end. I would have expected black possibly resign here, but he didn't. White played king d2. Now he's obviously expecting black to play pawn takes c2 here, when he would have played rook on a1 to e1, and when the queen moves he'd be threatening queen e8 mate. But of course black did not play pawn takes knight. Black played queen e2 check. That's the only legal move, and king c1 and queen c2 mate, and that is exactly what happened in the game. If we go back to this position, we can have a look at where the players are struggling here. Is they're getting one positions and not finishing them off, simply because they're scared to give material back. White plays king f1, queen e2 check, king g1, and now black plays pawn takes knight. Okay, there's possibly no way without you playing knight e3 of saving that knight, but now black is threatening queen d1, which will lead to a mate. So white gives himself some loft. Black would now play something like queen d2, and he's threatening to win the rook in the corner. Now if white tries and saves the rook by saying king h2, black has this maneuver, queen check. White cannot play g3 because queen takes f2 would be checkmate. So he has to go back to g1 and then your queen, and you'll notice that white has given up the rook that he was trying to save. Because what happens now, this is just a perpetual check. And as I said before, g3 is no good because of the queen f2 mate. So going back again to this position, let's see how a good player would have wrapped this up if he didn't want to, if he had to lose a knight. He would king here to g1, pawn goes, there's the loft, queen d2, there's the queen d1 threat, and now you just give him back the other rook. You're going to be a queen and a rook up after this move, and that is enough to win. You notice that that move brings the queen back into play, and it's stopping the queen f4 check idea. So black takes his queen, gets a rook back, but now in this position it's black to play, and the queen's being attacked, and the white pieces are active. There's no perpetuals in this position. Black plays queen takes b2. And white now just simply wraps up with queen f5 check. If the king goes back to d8, then white would play something like rook e1. And you're threatening queen f8 and queen e8 mate. And if black gives himself some running room, then queen f7 is the move. When you're chasing down a king, the first rule is you cut off the flight squares. And once the flight squares are cut off, any check wins. So after queen takes b2, and white plays a queen f5 check. We've seen what happens if the king goes to d8. He has to go. We've seen what happens if the king goes to d8. If the king has to go to c6 here. Then white plays rook takes rook to b1, and you'll notice that if the black queen takes a2, then it's queen b5 mate, and if the black queen takes on c3, it's the same mate. So black here has to actually stop queen b5 mate and save his queen, and that's the only move. The only move is actually queen e2, and then it's just a simple win because white can play queen f3, and that's forcing the queens off. And that's, if you need any help winning that, then I can't help you. Okay then boys, well thank you very much. I'll have another one for you next week. Thank you very much.